Hi everyone, welcome to my counter sniper scope review. Comes in a nice box. I guess it's got some cool looking graphics on it. Pretty inconsequential, I would say though. Okay, so you open it up and it comes with a cleaning cloth and a manual which goes over its features and how to use it and maintenance and mounting, and it's got a couple diagrams, not as many diagrams as I would like. It's very wordy, but it goes over everything. So yeah, these scopes come with a pretty good warranty. It's 10-year manufacturer defects, which I have dealt with before. The original scope I had a loose ocular housing. This piece was loose on me, and I had to send it in to get a new one. And they upgraded me, actually. I originally had the one that was a 42 or 44 millimeter, I can't remember, objective lens. They upgraded me to a 50 millimeter because they didn't have the smaller objective lens in stock. So that was nice. So yeah, if you do have problems with the scopes, they will make you whole. So yeah, let's actually take a look at the scope. I have the let's see, it is the 4-16 power 50 millimeter objective lens. It has the first focal plane reticle, just a standard mil dot. Yeah, it comes with these nice, well, they're not nice, they're adequate. The one in the rear here is kind of loose, and that pin holding it in comes out. You gotta kind of make sure that it stays in. So you can see the 4-16 power 50 millimeter objective lens. Yeah, and the fit and finish on it is pretty good, I think. The adjustments are a little stiffer than I would like, but they don't really take gorilla hands to move, and you know that the adjustments aren't going to go anywhere when you're shooting. The clicks aren't super tactile, but they're audible. I have no problem hearing them through my hearing protection when I'm shooting. You see over here on this turret, it's a little dinged up. That's because the ejection port was right there. So the brass was hitting the turret. Yeah, that's what that was from. And I had this scope mounted, of course, with some 30 millimeter let's see, Burris XTR rings. And you can see the finish is a little scuffed, but I'm pretty impressed as to how it came out from being mounted and unmounted a couple times, being shot. Just, I probably put about 200 rounds of a 338 Norma Magnum. I should note that it's not a 308, 30-06, nothing like that. It's a pretty big round. If you're not familiar with the 338 Norma, it's a shortened, fattened 338 Lapua cartridge, and it puts out actually a little bit higher velocities than a 338 Lapua for a given powder charge. It's a great cartridge if you're looking to build a custom long-range rifle. I would recommend that, but I digress. So the illuminated reticle is nice and bright. In dark situations, if you turn it up too bright, there's some haze inside the scope, but if it's bright during the day and you turn on the illuminated reticle, not really going to notice it. It's something that you know, it's a quality issue, but you're probably not going to notice it in normal situations, because you're not going to turn up the reticle to full brightness when it's dark, you know. So the glass quality, I would say, is, you know, it's on par with the price of this scope. This is about a $400 scope if you go on Midway or Optics Planet. It's very bright. The glass is very bright. When I was comparing it to my Vortex Viper PST, which also has a 50mm objective lens, just as bright. I could not tell any difference in brightness. However, there was definitely a clarity difference. The optics are not as clear. There's more distortion around the edges. I mean, but that's what you expect. I have a Viper PST 6-24 power 50mm objective lens, first focal plane MRAD reticle, whatever. I can't remember the exact name of that reticle. But yeah, it's the Viper is more than twice the price of this scope, so you wouldn't expect the glass to be exactly the same. But yeah, the glass is very bright, but the clarity is a little bit lacking. Again, it's kind of on par for the price range. You know, it's kind of what you see in the Nikon Buckmasters or the Falcon optics. So here I'm going to go over some of the adjustment tests that I went through with the counter sniper scope. This first one is at 100 yards. I'm shooting the box, and I started out here. This is my first shot, so my zero is a little off, and I just, you know, for ammo's sake, I didn't want to start over. So my next adjustment was 4.5 up, 4.5 minutes up, 4.5 minutes left, and I ended up pretty close to where my original zero would have been, which would have been about there, a little bit up. So let's see, let's show you here in inches. So yeah, about 3/4 of an inch. So then my third shot here, I think I threw this, so I'm gonna ignore that one. Let's see. So this shot, see, I adjusted 4.5 down, 4.5 right, and that was about 1.25 inches off of where it should have been. 1.5 inches maybe. And then this one, you can kind of see that the error is increasing as we go. Yeah. So then my sixth shot, I took it back to 0, and there I am. About, what is that? 7/8 off. So and later I'll give you an idea of how accurate my rifle is, so you can tell that this is not like just my rifle shooting really poorly. Okay, so here's another one. This is just how well it holds 0, basically. So this is a group at 300, actually it's about 315 yards. I was beyond the 300 yard bench. So I mean, you can tell that when you lock it down and you just shoot, it holds 0 for you. And here's another group at 100 yards. I adjusted up to get my 0, and that's where my shot went. right there. So it holds 0 for you if you lock down the turrets. And I should also mention here that I don't remember whether I had the turrets locked on all these shots or not. So, you know, I'm pretty certain that it does not hold your 0 if you unlock the turrets. I'm pretty certain of that. Yeah, and also at some point during my testing, my base of my rifle came loose. The EGW 20 minute of angle single piece base here, the front screws came loose. So at some point there's that source of error too. So here's kind of a demonstration of the difference between locked and unlocked. So I was trying to 0 it without locking the turrets, and this is what happened. I got this, not this, but these 3, just all over the place. And then I locked them down, and I put 2 shots right on top of each other at 100 yards. Oh no, this is 50 yards again. This is 50 yards. So, yeah, if you're going to use this scope, lock your turrets when you shoot. So here's my latest counter sniper adjustment test. This was at 100 yards, and I did a sight in first. So here's my first shot. I adjusted 5 down and 2 left, and that's where my 0 ended up. So pretty close. Not great, but pretty close. So then I maintained my point of aim here, and I adjusted 4 left and 2 up. That's where my shot ended up, which is pretty close to my 0. Note that my 0 is about a ½ inch right and about, I don't know, a third of an inch down. So yeah, it's not too bad. And then over to the right here, I stayed 2 up. Then I went 4 minutes of angle all the way to the right. And then I ended up a little bit further than I wanted to be. Here's about where my 0 is. So ended up a little bit further. So then I adjusted back to 0 in windage and up to 6 up here, and that ended up pretty close again to where it should have been. So then I adjusted another 4 up, so now we're up to 10 up, and here's 4 left, and there you are. So here, when we're adjusting this far, it's probably important to remember the about 5% difference between a minute of angle is 5% more, approximately. I think it's more like 4.7% more than an inch at 100 yards. So, you know, that's not too bad. Being a little bit high at this this amount of adjustment, about ½ an inch high at this amount of adjustment, that's just fine. Can't complain about that. And then over here, we adjusted back 4 right and ended up a little bit further to the right than we should have been. Then I came back down to 0-0 on my scope, and we ended up there. So it didn't quite return all the way back to 0. So there was probably some accumulated error throughout this adjustment, unfortunately. So then I think we should compare that to my Viper PST. So here's the adjustment test of my Vortex Viper PST. There's my first shot. I adjusted my 0 down to here. Put 2 shots there. And then this third one is when I came back from my adjustment test. So it maintains your 0 even through all the adjustments. You come back and you got a pretty good 0 there. So my first adjustment was 1.1 mils left and 0.6 up. So that's 1.1 mils at 100 yards is actually just under 4 inches, so we're good horizontally, and 0.6 up should be just a little bit high, so we're pretty close. Recall that 0 is about half an inch left, so yeah, pretty close there. And then here we're basically dead on when I adjusted over to 1.1 right. And then here's the worst one. I don't know if this was me shooting or just a flyer out of my rifle. I'm not sure. But this is 1.7 up and 0 windage, and 1.7 mils at 100 yards should be 6.12 inches. So I should be about there, actually about there, considering my zeros to the right a little. So a little bit off with that one. And then I adjusted up to here, and that was 1.1 left again, so that's pretty close to where it should be. And 2.8 up is actually, let's see, 10.08 inches. Okay, so that's good. So that one ended up almost exactly where it should be. And if we come over here, this is 2.8 up and 1.1 right, and that one also pretty much exactly where it should be. Well, maybe a little bit further right, but you know, that's within the accuracy of my rifle there, I think. So then, of course, I adjusted it all the way back to 0, 0, and yeah, I don't know which one was which, but yeah, it made a nice little group there for me. So, in conclusion, I think it's a decent scope for the money. No, it's not a Schmidt & Bender. No, it's not the world's finest optical gun sight. But you know, I think you're getting what you pay for. Yeah, of course there's better options out there, but I think everything that you're going to find that's really better is going to be more expensive. You know, what I would do with it, if I were to keep it, but I bought a more expensive scope, was, you know, just lock the turrets down and not adjust them a whole lot. Just maybe do some elevation adjustment. Don't play too much with the windage, because you know, you have a nice windage adjustment just in the reticle, so you don't really need to mess with the windage a whole lot. So I figure if you just stick with the elevation and you lock down your turrets consistently, I think you do just fine with this scope, you know, even on something as big as a 338. So, I hope you enjoyed my review. Please rate, comment, I'll try and answer your questions. Thanks, bye.